Reporting Services includes a feature, Interactive Sorting, which lets you include user-selectable sorting in your reports. This can be a way to make a report far more useful to users when viewed online, letting them sort the data in limited ways. This can help them find the information they need more easily than scrolling through infinitely long reports in a fixed order. To employ interactive sorting, you need to identify a column to sort and a text box in a header row that the user will click on to trigger the sorting. Normally, you would set interactive sorting up so that each text box will trigger a different sort, and you would place each text box above the field that it's going to support. But this positioning is not an absolute requirement, but it is highly recommended because users have been conditioned over the years to click on column headers in order to sort by columns. In order to show you how to use interactive sorting, I'm going to use this fairly simple customer address list report. So what this does is it lists AdventureWorks customers, including the company name, contact name, and some location information. The data comes from the database, sorted by company name, then last name, and then first name, because of an order by clause on the query of the shared data set. All right, so this is a report design, and I'll go ahead and preview it. And as you can see, it's sorted by company name. And we can scroll down and scroll and scroll and scroll. If I go to the last page, you can see there's 10 pages. So an awful lot of pages for a user to scroll through in order to get the information for the vehicle shop, which is in Redlands, California in the United States. So this is the kind of report that just screams for interactive sorting. All right, I'll go back over to Design View now. And this is the kind of report where each of the columns in the report could potentially be useful for sorting by the user. That won't always be the case, but in this one, they're all text fields, although that's not required for sorting, but they're all fields that it would be useful to a user potentially to be able to sort. Okay, so here in Design View, I want to right-click each of the text boxes in the header row. So right-click there and open up the text box properties and go to the interactive sorting page. I want to enable interactive sorting on this text box. And in this case, I want to sort on detail rows. I'll talk about groups later. And for this field, I want to sort on company name. So I'll click on OK. And then I want to implement it for last name. So I have to go in here. And then first name. Unfortunately, there isn't really a way to do this for all text boxes all at once. Hopefully that was first name, I think. And then city. State, province. And finally, country region. And again, I want to emphasize that I'm doing this in a text box. I'm setting the properties of a text box in the header row, not the details row. Okay, so now I've implemented interactive sorting for each of those columns. One thing to notice here is that in Design View, there's no visible change to the appearance of the report, no indication that the report uses interactive sorting. But now when I preview the report, go out and refresh, it's always a little bit confusing because it shows that old view if I've previously previewed the report before it shows this one. But what's different here is I now have these up and down arrows that I can click on to change the sort order. So it first changes it to ascending, which is already the order it was in. But I can click again, and it sorts it in descending order. And then I can sort on the last name in ascending order, and now descending order. First name, ascending, descending, city, and for all of those fields. So now it becomes much easier for the user to find the information they want, particularly if they're looking for all of the Canadian customers. Maybe they're going to go down and contact each person. They have to contact everybody in Canada. Then they would have that easily accessible. Okay, so that's all it takes to implement interactive sorting. But you can also sort by groups. So I'm going to open up a different version of that kind of report. So I have customer address list grouped. Just named it a different item there. What's different between this report and the other one, other than the ordering of the fields, is that I have row groups. So I have a hierarchical set of groups. So I'm grouping by country, region, state, province, and city. Now normally, Reporting Services turns off the sorting option on any grouped fields, but you can turn it on by changing the Choose What to Support option to Groups. All right, so first I'm going to preview the report. And there you can see that we have this overall report. So I'll talk about the sorting in just a moment. But it's now grouped by Canada. Then it has the state and provinces, in case of Canada, the provinces, and then the cities within each of those provinces. And then for each of those cities, it lists the company name, last name, and first name. Okay, so similar kind of report as the previous report, but it's now grouped by geographic area. All right, so I'm going to go back over here to Design and right-click on that text box in Text Box Properties and Interactive Sorting. Now I've already done the work to implement this. And so what's different here is that I had to enable interactive sorting, but I selected groups and select the group that this is going to sort on. So this is country, region, and I'm going to sort, or the group it applies to, and then it's going to sort by country, region. Okay, so there's two different things that I need to set here. Which group this applies to, because again, this is just a text box floating out here. It happens to be above the applicable group, but that's not a requirement. Remember, like I said. And then sort by country, region. And then I did the same thing for state, province. State, province, and for the city. City and city. The rest of the fields are the same as in the previous report. So the company name is still sorting on the detail rows. So I can still sort on those. But when I sort by groups, the sorting behavior is a little bit different. Okay, so I'll once again preview it. And as you can see, once again, I have the sorting arrows. And I happen to implement it for all the columns. That's not a requirement either. If it made no sense to sort by, say, last name and first name, or by some other kind of random piece of information about the company, then I don't have to implement it for that. But I did implement it for all columns for this report. All right, so I can sort by country, region. So it's already in ascending order by Canada. Now it's in descending order, and you can see that it has the down arrow there. And I can scroll down there, and I have Arizona, California, Colorado. So the states are still in alphabetical ascending order. I'll scroll back up to the top, but then I can change that. So notice that I've changed the sort order, actually in ascending order. I'll go ahead and change it to descending order so you can actually see the change. So I'm still within the United States. I'm still in descending order of country, region, so the United States appears first, but I've changed the sort order within the United States to descending alphabetical order. And I can go back to ascending. And then I can also sort the cities again within the parent group. So it's in ascending order and descending order. And then within the city, I can change the sort order for the company. So ascending and descending. So again, within the city, it changed the sort order of the detail rows based on the company name. These group sort orders didn't change and is still grouped by, in this case, the city, state, and country. So as you can see, Reporting Services has some very nice interactive sorting capabilities that require very little work to activate. And when you use it with groups, it just does the right thing. Reporting Services also provides a really nice feature for creating interactive drill-down reports, where users are initially shown a summary report with plus icons that they can click on to display additional details. This can be a great way to provide the user with an initial view, with a high-level view of aggregate information about the dataset, and then letting them drill down into any of the detail for areas that they're interested in. This technique can help prevent information overload, while still delivering the information they need in a usable format. You'll need to use this technique with a report that uses one or more groups above the details row. So here's an example of a report that just cries out to be converted into a drill down report. It uses a hierarchy of groups, again based on geography, and it has a lot of data the user would otherwise have to page through. It turns out there's 417 rows in the source data set. So I'll go ahead and preview it. And there's the report. And it's grouped by country, state, province, and city. And then it lists all of the company names within a particular city. And then it furthermore has some aggregate information and gives the user a count of the number of companies that are within the city, within all of the cities within the province, and all of the provinces within Canada. And so if you count these, there's 11. There's a total of 13 with those additional 2, and then it starts into British Columbia. And you can scroll down through here, and it goes through all the provinces in Canada. Then it starts in the United Kingdom. Again, this data is coming from the AdventureWorks database. And then finally the United States, and there's a handful of states with a number of cities. And as you can see, there's a number of cities with only a single or a couple of companies, but then a few that have a larger number of companies as well. Okay, so if we go to the end of the report, total of 16 pages of the report, and as you can see, there's a total there of 417 companies that are listed. The query behind this does a select distinct, so it removes any duplicates of the information. So theoretically, all of these are unique customers within specific locations. Okay, so there's the report design. So again, this doesn't yet implement drill down. Despite the name of the report, drilldown.rdl, this doesn't implement drill down. So let's go ahead and make this into a drill down report. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the arrow next to state province. I'll explain a little bit later, but I don't need to implement drill down for country region. All right, so I hit that and do group properties. The way that I implement this is using this visibility page or visibility tab. As you can see, by default, this is set to show. So it displays that group within the report. But in this case, what I want to do is I want to hide it because I don't want it to appear when the user first displays this report using an interactive renderer. So I'm going to hide it. But then I need to provide a way to toggle it so that the user can display it. So I need to select this checkbox. And then, because again, I right-clicked on the state province, and I need to select the parent group. So that's country region. In fact, you can see it a little bit clearer there. Because when I click on country region, I want the state and provinces to appear. Okay, so again, I right-clicked, or I selected group properties for state province, and I need to select the parent group. And there's a lot of different ways to do groups, and there's a lot of different ways to implement this. This is just one way using a hierarchical set of groups. Okay, I want to do the same thing for city. Select group properties, come here to visibility, show hide, and the display. And in this case, I want it to appear, I want to activate it when the user clicks on state province. So I'll select that. As you can see in that list, in fact, there's a number of text boxes. So you can have specific areas within the report that the user clicks on, and that shows or hides these different items. So you can include text boxes, buttons, whatever, in order to implement this. But I want state and province in this case. And then I do the same thing for the details row, because I want to initially hide the details, but then show them when the user clicks on city. So city is right there. And click on OK. All right, and so once again, you can see that there's no outward appearance within the design view that this report now implements a drill down feature. Okay, one other thing I wanted to show you here, I'll go back into the group properties for details. When the report is initially run, if you set that option to show, or use an expression that returns a value that shows the row, which you can use with this option right here, then the row initially appears in its expanded state as long as its parent is expanded up the hierarchy. So the real thing that makes this row a drill down row is this option right here. But in most cases, you'll probably want the report to initially be in its completely collapsed state. And that's why for all of those rows and groups, all the groups actually, I selected hide as the option. But if you do show things in different levels and do things like that, you can get some funky effects if the settings up and down the hierarchy aren't properly coordinated. And once again, you need to make the correct setting here. For a hierarchical report like this one called drill down, it needs to be the parent group for the item that you're configuring as a drill down row. Okay, then the last thing is that, remember I mentioned that I'm not doing anything with country region. So there's nothing. If I go into the group properties there and visibility, it's just show period. The reason is that if I were to configure this as a drill down, set it to hide and then some way of displaying it, then nothing would initially be visible on the screen when I execute the report. Now I could include a header or a footer, include some text box that cause that to show, but usually it's not very useful to show a report that has absolutely nothing within it. So in this case, the top level of the hierarchy is always going to be visible. So I'm not configuring this as a drill down row. Alright, so that's all I need to do. I'll go ahead and preview the report. Initially briefly shows the old view and then regenerates it. And now I have this drill down report. I have 3 countries. That's all that appears. Again, if I configured these as drill downs, I would have to have some other way of making something available within the report. And then I can drill down here. So I click on the country. That is the trigger for the state province. I happen to have only one, what's called a country, England. I can drill down more. I can see there's a number of cities, and it contains the number of companies within each city. Liverpool has a single company. London has 13. And then I can close those. I can leave something open, go to another page, go to the United States here, scroll down to, well, unfortunately Alaska doesn't have any. Let's look at Colorado. Colorado has some in several different cities. And there you can drill down into and then back up. And so the nice thing about this is that if I go ahead and collapse everything again, the user initially has this high-level view. I can see that there's 38 companies in the United Kingdom. There's 272 in the United States. If I want to get that information by state, I can just look at the states. It retains that expanded state. I can see the number of companies in each of those. And then it's only when I'm interested in the actual companies in Missouri, actually the cities, and then the number of companies within Kansas City, that I can drill down into that. So the user can get a high-level view of the information and then just drill down into the information that they're most interested in. Okay, the last thing I want to show you on this is that how the report implements those company counts. So in this case, it's a little bit hard to see what it is, so I'll look at the expression. So I have this field that uses the count function, it's one of the aggregate functions, and specifies that I want the company name value. So I have one of those for each group within the report. So this is the total number of companies. Notice that this yellow square bracket here is for the country region group. So this is the total number of companies for each country. This text box here has the exact same expression. Right click on it and select expression. Exact same expression. But now this is within the state province group. So this is going to display the number of companies for each of the states and provinces. And the same thing for the city. And then finally, I have this row that is outside any group. And because it's outside any group, this is going to be the total number of companies for the entire data region, which equates in this case to the entire data set. And that's why I got that total number, I think it was 417, at the end of the report. So it's pretty easy to provide that kind of summarization information.